So this is day 5, our final morning of our final day. And there's one overarching message, which is that in every moment, prayer is happening. And when we are listening to mind, we are praying for mind's illusions, to solve mind's problems, to accept mind's premises that there's lack, and entertain mind's solutions to how to solve the problem du jour, the problem of the moment. So getting clear on what's actually running in mind allows us to shift our current prayer from what we don't want to what we do want. And we don't shift to what we do want by asking mind what it wants, because we are not mind. A symbol for what we are is the heart. So we could ask heart, what would you like? But an even more profound prayer is to not ask anything at all. The deepest prayer, deepest form of prayer, is to recognize the beingness is already being. And it doesn't need to be added to. It has its own divine intelligence. So the deepest form of prayer is resting in being and listening. So we shift from prayer, conceived as talking to God, to prayer as listening. And we are most successful at this prayer of listening when we allow the heart to hold us in emptiness, in trust, in patience. And we let love alone speak. And we just remain at the ready, trusting we will hear. And the reason we trust we will hear is because we're listening. We are actively, consciously consenting to God's presence and action within. And we need do nothing. The invitation is to rest, to accept whatever is here, and to trust that that way of being is the highest form of prayer. So we give ourselves to this highest form of prayer in two different kind of practices or modes, because life comes at us. The egoic operating system is still in us. Another way of saying it is we have a split mind. So we have two practices to meet us in our true desire to pray without ceasing. As the emptiness, with two practices designed to do the emptying. These are emptying prayers, emptying practices. First, of course, is centering prayer, where we accept it's just the organic nature of mind to just keep kicking up thoughts. We don't try to stop it. We don't try to slow it. we certainly don't try to change it. We just empty. We let go. Just practice the letting go. When we let it go, we let it be. And we just rest. We return to praying without ceasing. From the emptiness, as the emptiness. And when we're up off the cushion or the prayer stool, the couch, the chair, the bed, so to speak, that place of prayer, we have a second practice, an emptying practice, which is the welcoming prayer and the welcoming practice. And in that practice, we do not first practice letting it go. We practice seeing what it is, feeling into it, naming it lightly. We practice welcoming. We practice welcoming as step one to emptying. But we don't take on the mantle of the doer of the emptying. We are the beer. We allow the being to be with whatever is. We feel into the body. We trust that this psychological material kicks up because God has heard our prayer. And so the subconscious is unloading. So we cooperate with that process by allowing it not just to unload in terms of thoughts and feelings, but evacuate in terms of what can feel like very tumultuous energies. And we continue to pray without ceasing. And our prayer is to trust that God's presence and action is within us, and that's doing the evacuating. I'm not. That's doing the naming it lightly. I'm not, because I'll tell you, sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. Sometimes it gets named, sometimes it doesn't. So I just start to trust that life is living me, that this true desire is actually bringing about its own purification, its own clarification, its own commitment to itself. So our only job in this prayer is to notice when not empty is what's happening. And we move to an emptying practice. And that is praying without ceasing, to have an unbroken, continuous connection to Source, to the presence of God within, the action of God within. So we truly welcome what life brings because we trust it will show us inside of us a block to the awareness of love's presence. It will literally bring up into the body what it is that we are being called to escort out to freedom just by being, just by willingness, consenting, resting. So when we get lost and get confused and have no idea what this week was about, we remember the most important thing we can do is bring attention to our intention, to continually run the antivirus software, which is the inquiry, the looking, the being with, on this dualistic egoic operating system that generates the literal perception that we have. Give our willingness, thought by thought, to let go of the old operating system. And in so doing, that motion of letting go reconfigures attention itself as a mechanism. Reconfigures it to be broad and not grabby, not concentrated, not clingy. It lets that go. Recognizes it and lets that go. And with every letting go, we're impressing upon the nervous system that we are safe, that we are whole, and we give our consent to put on the same mind as Christ, to literally see from our Buddha nature with soft Buddha eyes. And we rest. We rest in knowing that the intention to consent is all we really have to remember. I consent to this moment just as it is. I consent to God's presence in me right now, even in the midst of this. This must somehow be healing. This is amazing. This is healing, because it sure doesn't feel like it, so it's amazing. And we consent to God's action within. Listen for our prompts, our guidance. And when we don't hear guidance to move, to do, just rest in being. Rest in the emptiness, trusting all the prompts we need will come, because we have continually prayed without ceasing our prayer of consent for God's presence and action within us.